pilot of an F-35 fighter jet is safe after he crash-landed at an Air Force base in Alaska.
Another plane crash in the United States has claimed at least 6 lives. This latest tragedy coming just days after a passenger jet and a military helicopter collided in Washington, D.C.
Let's just get your initial reaction. We've all seen the horrific crash in Philadelphia around 6:30 last night. What do you make of what may have happened? I learned from covering the Washington crash as a reporter in going to the NTSB briefings, they say that in all investigations, they kind of look at 3 things: the human element, the machine element, and the environment element. We think that it was a cold but not particularly harsh environment night. We now just heard in Nate Foy's report from the jet company that there was nothing wrong with the plane. So could this be human error?
Yeah, so
the aircraft's landing gear was down. And if you see where the impact point was, it was almost right on the runway, which suggests that the pilot was troubleshooting some kind of problem. And all of a sudden, they had to eject.
Went up in flames, and I didn't want to drive any further.
Crews taking the pilot to a nearby medical facility for evaluation.
The pilot was executing standard procedures and executing their respective mission, and essentially experienced an in-flight malfunction.
This crash comes after a string of incidents involving military aircraft in recent years. In November 2023, an F-35 fighter jet went missing, then crash-landed in rural South Carolina, the pilot surviving.
I'm sorry, what happened?
We got a pilot in the house, and I guess he landed in my backyard.
Back in Alaska, Air Force officials still looking into the cause of that fiery crash.
Now, following that crash, the commander of the 354th Fighter Wing said he still has full faith in the capabilities of the F-35 as the premier fighter for the U.S. Air Force.
It's eerily quiet here at the scene. People struggling to process that an aeroplane has crashed into a densely populated area just 2 days after America's worst aviation disaster in nearly a quarter of a century, that mid-air collision in the skies above Washington.
We're learning more tonight about the moments leading up to America's worst aviation accident in decades. Flight data has revealed the Black Hawk helicopter may have been flying off course.
The Black Hawk helicopter seen flying in on the left of your screen.
You know, Arthur, you're touching on something that Chris Bauer, aviation expert in our last hour, touched on, and that is this rapid descent that we saw. Here's a little bit of what he said. I want to see if you agree.
It looked to me like it was initially accelerating normally, but then it stopped. It seemed to have leveled off, and then it started a descent. Ultimately wound up descending at over 11,000 feet a minute.
I was right here at the door of my job, and all I could see is a big ball of flames in the sky. Literally, you heard a loud bang. It shook the entire building. The whole building shook.
I was in shock. I'm still in shock. Like, this is insane. Why can this happen? And before that, to be honest, in my mind I thought, like, what if the rocket would, because I'm from Ukraine, right? And there's war.
From the US president, so sad to see the plane go down in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. More innocent souls lost. Our people are totally engaged.
Witness account now. Philadelphia resident Lindy Lee joins us now. Lindy, describe what you saw and heard last night.
David, thank you so much for having me. My dad and I were actually on separate paths, and he got closer to the blast zone, and he shared footage with me that we're not able to share because it's so deeply traumatizing and graphic. After seeing it, I frankly wanted to vomit. It's just so gruesome. I wasn't able to get in because I was heading that way, and the police were asking us to turn around. All I saw was the fireball. I actually didn't know it was a plane crash initially because I just saw the aftermath, and I had to scroll through my phone and ask people around me what exactly happened. It wasn't abundantly clear to me upon impact what was the cause of the fireball. It was just a scene from hell. It was just so gruesome, and we are just shell-shocked. I haven't slept. It's just been I can't imagine what the families are going through right now.
It's just a nightmare for everybody involved, even just the eyewitnesses, let alone the people who were actually injured.
Everyone, all hands on deck. That's where we are right now.
This plane was a Learjet 55 owned by Jet Rescue, an air ambulance service. The twin-engine aircraft carrying a child, her mother and 4 crew, including doctors. It had only just taken off, bound for Tijuana, Mexico. It was in the air for just 41 seconds, reaching 1,600 feet before communications with air traffic control cut out.
Medevac Med Service 056 Northeast Tower, you on frequency? Medevac Med Service 056 Northeast Tower. We have a lost aircraft. We're not exactly sure what happened, so we're trying to figure it out.
This flight was a repatriation flight of a patient who recovered and was headed home. She was fit to fly.
Tonight, new flight tracking data shows that military chopper may have been flying off course.
The airplane was coming down on its track. It was perfect. It was in perfect shape coming down, and something was in its way. You can't let that happen.
The Black Hawk had been using a specialised, narrow, low-altitude corridor, but moments before the crash, it appeared to climb some 30 metres above its approved altitude. The Federal Aviation Administration today announcing an indefinite shutdown of that flight path.
What concerns have you had specifically about the congested airspace, and have you ever raised those directly with the FAA?
The United States airspace is the safest in the world. Safety is one of our top priorities.
It wasn't safe in this instance. There have been near misses here before. Have you raised concerns with the FAA about the congested airspace around Washington's airports?
We comply with all FAA safety regulations.
Radar shows another American flight had to abort landing due to a helicopter crossing its flight path at the same airport. And in years past, pilots have reported nearly a dozen near misses.
Is there time for a permanent shift in DC and across the country to keep airspace safe?
In this incident, it should not have happened. We have in aviation what's called a Swiss cheese approach, wherein if something fails, a backup should catch it. Multiple layers of redundancy.
Tonight, cranes have been brought in.
The operation to salvage the wreckage from the Potomac River is underway. It is expected to take some considerable time. The search for answers and the pain of the victims' families will last long beyond that.
41 people have now been recovered from the crash site. It is a slow and delicate operation. Investigators also locating the black boxes from both aircraft. They're under analysis.
We have right now 2 distinct debris fields.
Tonight, questions over how and why as the president departs the city bound for Mar-a-Lago.
I speak to you this morning in an hour of anguish. We are one family, and today we are all heartbroken. We're all searching for answers. The FAA is actively recruiting workers who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under a diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. Can you imagine?
Are you saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring? And what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else. And there are things where you have to go by brain power, you have to go by psychological quality, and psychological quality is a very important element of it. These are various very powerful tests that we put to use, and they were terminated by Biden, and Biden went by a standard that's the exact opposite. So we don't know, but we do know that you had 2 planes at the same level. You had a helicopter and a plane. That shouldn't have happened.
Mr. President, you have today blamed the diversity elements, but then told us that you weren't sure that the controllers made any mistake. You then said perhaps the helicopter pilots were the ones who made the mistake.
It's all under investigation.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense.
The self-proclaimed best friend that Israel has ever had is back in the White House.
We're going to make Israel great again, and we're going to make America great again. We're going to make them both great again, greater than ever before. Token of affection.
Donald Trump portrays himself as Israel's steadfast protector, and his record reflects that. During his first term as US president, he recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital, and followed up by moving the United States Embassy there from Tel Aviv, thereby undermining the cause of Palestinians who want East Jerusalem as the capital of a future Palestinian state. Trump also recognized the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights as part of Israel, a decision honored by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who named a planned settlement there after him.
Well, that was very strange because the Davos people that run it, he shredded every one of their most cherished ideas, open borders, illegal immigration, New Green Deal. He just shredded. I thought their heads were going to explode when he called it the New Green Scam, and he called oil liquid gold. So I thought the questions were going to be so angry. But, I looked at them very carefully after I heard them on the transcript, and Schwartzman and Moynihan, all these international big bankers were kind of like, well, we're not supposed to say this, but are you serious? You're really going to give us liquid natural gas? You're not going to cut it off if no. Trump said, no, my word is my bond. I will give it to you. Are you really serious that you're going to encourage investment? And it was almost like what he did with the tech lords on the domestic area. He put, when he got Andreessen and he got Elon and Bezos, and he basically said, I want you to make us rich. Go to it. And they thought, wow, we're not supposed to like this, but it's great. And these bankers were kind of shocked, like, we're Davos people, we're supposed to get angry, but the more we hear this, and I know it's a little over the top, they thought, but it's, wow, he's going to let us make money and we're going to have capitalism free, and the United States is going to really back us up and give us all the liquid natural gas we want, and there's going to be, I got the impression that the Davos people that run it were pretty shocked that he won over the people who are asking him the questions, which basically are the world's financiers. I think they're actually secretly happy that he's there, because they understand that he's a capitalist, and he's their capitalist dream.
I just love the fact that he zoomed in. I just treating it like any other office meeting, Batya. That just cracked me up. The screen above the crowd, it was like Charlie's Angels. I thought disembodied voice.
Well, I bet Trump sees them all as all solvable problems.
They're all solvable problems.
I agree.
They're all solvable.
Not easy.
With time, effort, money, unfortunately. But they're all solvable problems. We can get our country back. But if we didn't win this race, I really believe our country would have been lost forever. I think we got there just in the nick of time.
Also during his first term, Trump facilitated the normalization of ties between Israel and Gulf Arab states with the Abraham Accords, as well as with Morocco and Sudan. Trump has renewed his first-term pledge to deliver peace in the Middle East. Meanwhile, Netanyahu, having buckled to heavy pressure from Trump in agreeing to the ceasefire deal, will expect US support over future control of Gaza.
Obviously, the election of President Trump has effect on not only Middle East, has got an effect in every way in the world. And I send him a letter and a telegram of congratulations. And we all hope that during this period, most of the places in the world will go through a peaceful period. As he repeated many times, that he's taking the presidency back and he will solve all the turmoil problems in the world peacefully. So I think this is my main objective, and I wish him luck to achieve that. Obviously, everybody is expecting the new administration and see how the administration start operating. There are a lot of issues on his agenda, and I think the best thing is to wait and see what will happen in the near future, obviously after the 100 days for completing the administration. But I hope, again, I repeat that I hope, and I think it's everybody hoping, that this administration will try to solve most of the national and international problems in the world.
maybe then President Trump will eventually get the Nobel Peace Prize that he wants.
Well, if he does that, I wish him all the luck. He should get it.
You talk about a period potentially of stability and peace. We're coming off an extremely tumultuous period in the region. Yet in the last month, we have a ceasefire agreed to between Israel and Hamas. We have a ceasefire agreed to between Israel and Hezbollah. We have the demise of the Assad regime, new leadership in place. How do you see the regional stability evolving in the coming months and years?
Middle East has been going through a very serious period of instability, conflicts in many places. Obviously, on top of it, Gaza problem, Palestinian problem, Palestinian demands, and fighting in Gaza or attacking Gaza on daily basis for a year and a half. Then jumped to Lebanon, and then we have the issue of Syria. I think everybody has welcomed the ceasefire in Gaza, but it's only first step. Obviously, ceasefire is very important. Without peace, you cannot tackle any problem. But we hope that it will be starting point for solving genuinely the Palestinian problem.
But again, I think all of these Davos masters were a little shocked because Donald Trump talked over their heads and he appealed to the innate logic of these capitalist bankers. And he's basically saying, you know, I like you guys, but you don't understand who's your friend and what's in your interest, and it's the MAGA. And I'm here to help you. Join us because I wouldn't want you to suffer if you don't, and you will suffer, just like you did to yourself. And that's a very powerful argument. I think the Davos shepherds thought that the sheep are going, you know, wandering away from their control to Donald Trump. I think he won a lot of people over, even with that tough talk, and they didn't like it, but the bankers and the financiers and the international people loved it.